Welcome to the Greg Bennett Show. I'm your host, Greg Bennett. And well, today is one of my favorite conversations with one of my favorite people in the whole world, Dan Lorang, one of the greatest coaches and leaders in the world of endurance sports, just a remarkable human being. He's so authentic in this one. He just shares so many stories from the highs and lows of coaching some of the world's greatest triathletes and cyclists. We cover a lot. We celebrate the athletes he works with. We dive deep into some of his coaching philosophies and his mental strategies, and we finish up with some opinions and some life questions. I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did. And remember, success comes to those who endure just one moment longer. Speaking of success, have you ever tried fast food? It's a high-performance fuel made from 100% real food. No more bloated feelings or crashes. With their unique optimal energy release system, you get consistent energy. Dive into their Galacto Gel, Galacto Gummy, or the Hydrator and taste the real difference. Give them a go and let me know what you think. You can write me on any of the social platforms. I'd love your feedback. You're out there training hard and racing, and I want to know how you feel on fast food. And remember, your mission is fast food's mission, so don't miss out. All right. Well, today's guest is one of the all-time greatest performance coaches in the world. His results, they speak for themselves. Both the men and women Kona Ironman World Champions, Grand Tour Cycling Champions, and the list goes on. He's also a familiar voice on the show. He was last on about 2 years ago. We were just talking pre-show. And his episode then is one of the most downloaded episodes on the Greg Bennett Show. I've recorded 200 plus episodes, and he's only second to one of the athletes he coaches, Jan Frodeno, and that's very, very close, actually. Dan, you're very close to being number one. But, mate, it's so great to have you back on. So, for everybody, a reminder, Dan Lorang, he's the head performance coach for the Bora-Hansgrohe Cycling team. He's a strategic genius behind some of the world's greatest triathletes. Under his guidance, we have Jai Hindley, who won the Giro d'Italia in 2022, the Aussie. He has Kona Ironman World Champion, Haug, who's been working with for, I believe, almost 20 years. And she's been dominating the world number one ranking for the last couple of years. She's also a Kona Ironman champion. Lucy Charles-Barclay, who just shattered the course record at the Kona Ironman World Championships. And, of course, the legend himself, recently retired three-time Kona Ironman World Champion and Olympic gold medalist, Jan Frodeno. Honestly, his list of accomplishments we could do a whole podcast on. But, mate, you have been busy. So thanks for joining me once again, and welcome to the Greg Bennett Show, Dan Lorang. How are you, mate?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Greg, for the invitation. Always nice to be here on that podcast. I'm also listening to your podcast over the last years, and always nice to see how you drive your conversations with athletes, with coaches, with experts. So happy to be here.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Like you said, busy in a good way. So now already preparation for 2024 in cycling, but also for sure in the triathlon season. And so everything in full swing. That's a little bit the business that there is really not, there's not a real off season, because when the athletes go to off season, coaches, head of performances, and everybody involved is planning already the next one. But yeah, so it's an ongoing process.
Mate, I mean, I want to spend a bit of time on this show just understanding how you can juggle it all, because you, not only are you juggling it all, you're doing it all with such finesse and such success. And one of my first questions I was going to ask you, is this off season for you? But a quick look on the Bora-Hansgrohe website. It looks like you're employing great coaches for that team. There is no downtime. Do you take, a week here or there during the year?
Yes, I take this especially to spend a little bit more, or to spend more time with my family. We also go on holidays, but you have to see it like, if we are on holidays, it's basically part of it that I also working, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours in the morning and the same in the evening. So my wife knows me already like this. It was also when we got married, when we went on vacation after, it was exactly the same. So it's part of it. I'm also honest. I think I would not say no if there would be an opportunity now to say, okay, 1 week, just putting everything away and just enjoy it. So I would not say no to that. But because of the different engagements what I have, my position in the team was Bora-Hansgrohe. So now I'm part of the management. So I moved from pure coaching now to coach more the staff. So the nutritionist, the coaches, the physiotherapists, the chefs. So everything what is linked to the physical performance. And that's also an interesting but quite a demanding task because you have to talk to a lot of people. And so basically you don't have that time then to really say, okay, I'm out at the moment. And but that's part of my life until now. And as long as I'm enjoying it, it's also good. I feel sometimes when there are situations that I don't like or that gets a little bit away from coaching. Like I give you one example. If I have to tell somebody that we don't continue to work with him because also this is now part of my job, that's for sure not a nice one. And so this costs me more energy than if I'm the whole day on the phone with athletes and people and talking in a positive way. So
letting going people, I think there's a lot of people nodding their heads. I think that's some of the worst experience that anybody that has their own company or working in business and you've actually got to let somebody go. It's an awful experience. And
absolutely,
and it takes its toll. But mate, you've been busy. The last, like I said at the top of the show, 2 years since we last spoke. It's been an incredible couple of years. And there's a lot to cover in this episode. So I figured what we'll probably do is we'll start with a quick recap of your journey for people that maybe are new to Dan Lorang. But then I want to sort of celebrate some of the athletes that you've been working with. A lot of them I just mentioned in the top of the show. And then dive kind of a bit deeper into your coaching philosophy and end with some opinions and life questions. How's that all sound?
Yeah,
all right,
perfect for me.
All right, so let's start off, mate. Let's do a quick recap. You're still a young man, but give me a quick recap of your coaching journey and how it all started.
Yeah, so basically coaching started when I started my university degree at the University of Munich. So I studied sports science with the focusing on high performance sport. And there was some a part of it that calls the triathlon, triathlon department or triathlon group, and part of that group was Annie, so Annie Haug.
I love this part. I love that you've been working with Annie for so long.
That's basically where we met. And she was looking for a coach. I was looking for athletes to train because I felt already quite early in my years that helping people by giving them good advices for training and to see what is possible with the human body, that this fascinates me. And then we said, okay, let's start this journey together. And basically starting from triathlons here around the corner, just moving up to European Championships, World Cups, to the VTS. So going up with her career, I also stepped up as a coach. For sure, I was involved in different sports. I was involved in triathlon, in cycling, in running. I had athletes from skiing, from biathlon. So I had the big opportunity that early during my studies, I worked in the sports medicine department of the university. And there I had a lot of contact with different sports. And that helped me a lot to better understand the physiology and also the needs from athletes, but also the needs from coaches. So to combine science with coaching, because the coaches came to that institute, they made a performance test, and then they want to have explanations what to do now. And there I saw, okay, you need to create that link between science and coaching on the field. And so I moved on, and then I was 1.5 years in the Cervelo test team, so in a professional cycling team at that age. And then I was country coach in triathlon for juniors in one of the German countries, Baden-Württemberg. So there I lived in Freiburg, and then I was under 23 national coach for 2 years, and then I got elite national coach in Germany for the triathletes for 4 years. And during that time, I met Jan Frodeno. So at the end of 2012, we met, and we start to work together to make that collaboration. And after that, my main job was in the cycling team, so in the Bora-Hansgrohe Cycling team, where I'm still actually, so now in my 8th season.
Wow.
And I started there as a coach. And like I said before, I'm now head of performance, and still in the team, and still really, really happy that I have the opportunity to coach some athletes beside my main job with Bora-Hansgrohe.
It's amazing, mate. And when you look back at that, that, what is it, almost 20 years, I guess, 15, 20 years you've been in this sort of, are there sort of some pivotal moments in that career which really stand out to you and you go, wow, that was a moment in time?
Yeah, there were, in your head, you put yourself some milestones, I would call it like this. And my first milestone was with Annie that she can enter the national team in triathlon. So that was the first milestone. And then we achieved this. And then the next milestone in my head was getting national coach of the German Federation. And I can still remember when I was there in a coaching course, I made the B degree at that moment, and the guy who made the course tell me, what's your purpose? Why are you doing here the coaching license? And I just told him straight away, I want to get national coach. And he just looked at me and said, okay, but you have never been triathlete and so on. But let's see what the future brings. And basically, I think 3 or 4 years later, I was the national coach of Germany. And that was the next milestone, what was something where I was quite proud of. And then basically came the next turning point, and that was when I met Jan Frodeno, because Annie was already really professional, but we grow up together. So that's why you don't really always see these steps, because if you see, for example, a person every day, you don't see exactly how this person changed.
It's like raising kids, right? It's like raising kids. You don't see the difference.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so for me, it was normal what Annie was doing. But then I met Jan, and then I saw, okay, what it means to do high performance sport and also professional sport. And so that was for me also a great learning to work together with him, especially in the first year. So I was a quite young coach at that time with a little bit of experience, and he was an Olympic champion already with big goals. He wants to win Kona. And basically, that story is also sometimes mentioned. He came in my office and we talked about it, and he said, okay, I want to win Kona. And I told him straight away, okay, we will do this in 3 years. And he said, okay, good. And that was how it came. So basically, we started at the end of 2012, beginning 2013, and he won Kona the first time 2015. So, but you put yourself as a young coach in a really exposure position, because with Jan, it was always like, if he is at the start line, everybody expect him podium or even to win. And as a coach, that's completely different than before. Then even with Annie, it was like, we go to the competition, we try our best. If we get 5th, 6th, 8th, or if we win, for sure we try our best. But there was never at that stadium that pressure from also from outside. And with Jan, this came the first time where I really felt it like, oh, okay, that's how it feels to train a really high class athlete. And then for sure with Annie, it was at some point the same when she was so successful. So, so these were some kind of points in my my career. Then for sure I entered the cycling team. Then I worked out there. Nice successes with a lot of different riders, sprinters, climbers, and was also for me nice to see that what I did in triathlon or in endurance sport in general also works quite well in cycling. And then I would say the one of the biggest milestone then was to win Kona with Annie and Jan the same year.
Unbelievable.
That was like, okay, good. And
2019, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah, 2019, yeah. And we spoke also about it in the podcast, because then suddenly you come to a point to say, and now what?
Well, you've just done the now what with Lucy winning and Annie in second. You've gone first, second in the women's. I mean, I don't know if that's been done before. I feel like you just keep creating new goals for yourself, new milestones that the world just go, what in the world? That is absolutely incredible. You mentioned, you work with Bora-Hansgrohe. From what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, is that the first GC win with Jai Hindley at the Giro d'Italia in 2022? Was that your first overall win?
So that was the first Grand Tour win what the Bora-Hansgrohe had.
Yeah.
And here also I want to point out, so basically at that year, the personal coach from Jai Hindley is Henrik Werner, a German coach.
Yes. Yeah.
Really experienced in cycling. He also won already with Tom Dumoulin, for example, the Giro d'Italia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like the other coach in the back, helping for sure and working in the performance area. But it was quite nice as a team to grow over that years because we won a lot of sprints. So we had the first area with Peter Sagan,
yes,
where we have been quite successful. And then we had young athletes like at that time, Sam Bennett, Pascal Ackermann, Emanuel Buchmann, Maximilian Schachmann. So a lot of athletes who where I had the chance to work with. Yeah. And that's one season. And that was also 2019. That was quite crazy with, I think I coached 6 athletes, and I had with these 6 athletes 33 victories, and it was somehow like it was just an unreal year.
Yeah.
I have to say, and that's why it was like okay, and what's next? And that also was the first time in my life where I really understand where it's good to have goals. But on the other side, there is also a negative point, because if you have a goal and you achieve it,
now what?
Now what? So that was also for me, put me in a really thinking process to say, okay, and how should you set your goals for the future? How do you see your goals? And also the way towards that goal, because we always tell the athletes, hey, you have to enjoy the journey. You have to really enjoy every day. And you come then yourself to that point to say, yeah, it's the same for you. It's not just the goal, but it's also how you get there. And defining the goals a little bit different. I think that is what 2019 and especially also the year after learned me a lot.
Yeah. So that how much did that impact your philosophy as a whole? I mean, it's one thing to be a coach and go, okay, I know the data and the numbers we need to hit and everything else, but there's this when you're setting these goals and understanding that the life is a journey and you need to understand your mental and emotional state to continue on. Did it change you as a person, as a coach and as a husband, achieving such success?
I would say not immediately. I think what changed was after. I think it was, when was it, 2020 or 2021? There came one moment, I know I have to think about, when Lucy got the first big injury. I think it was 21 or 20. Yeah, 21.
22. Started 22. Yeah. She broke her hip, or whatever it was. Yeah.
So some years later, because at that moment it was a point where a lot of things went wrong. Even, I don't know, I would not say everything was under my control, but Lucy was injured. It didn't went well with the cycling team, and with some triathletes there were some problems, and I basically fall in that pitfall to feel really, really bad, to feel like, okay, now my work is not going in the right direction, so probably I'm a bad person. So this kind of link. And that is what I felt there. I can really remember the situation. I was in Sierra Nevada in altitude at some evening, sitting there alone and like, fuck, what's going on with yourself? And I think that was a little bit from highest high to really from the work side to a really low, and then to remind myself, hey, stop! It's my passion, it's my work, yes, but it's not my life. And that's where I also learned a lot from that period to find a way around this and to still be there for the athletes and being positive. And because you also, I think as a coach, it's really important to stay positive, to give them help. Also for your family, it makes no sense to come home to your family and to be in a bad mood because your job is not working well. I know it's job, it's passion, it's so close in sport, this So there's no real line between what you are doing in your job and in your free time. So, and that was for me a big lesson, I have to say. And
how did you turn it around? I mean, we've all, everybody and everybody's journey, everybody's story, we all have these highs and we all have these lows. And I'm always curious, when you hit these low points, and it's easy to say, hey, just, snap out of it, get going again. And it's like, it's not that easy. Did you have any sort of techniques or anything or people around you that sort of helped you refocus?
Yeah, I can also remember at that moment, 2 days later in Sierra Nevada, I wrote we have a sport psychologist in our team, and I wrote him a message. And basically I wrote him, hey, look, if this don't get better, I will contact you in some days. And probably I need some help. But then I don't know how I did it basically, but I thought about the problem, and I managed to come out myself from it. So basically to bring everything into in the right relation. And what was also really, really helpful at that time, I mentioned Lucy with a broken hip, some other problems with the athletes, but the athletes, they always had 100% trust. Or at least they give me the feeling that they have 100% trust in what we are doing, in what I'm doing, that I'm there for them. And also from the family side, there was always like, okay, take your time. And it's not a problem if you don't want to talk about. So both sides gave me time and trust. And this helped me to come out of this and then to step up again and say, okay, and now we come back. And now we have to move out of that hole. And then basically 2 weeks later, the sport psychologist called me again or wrote me a message and said, hey, do you still need my help? No, he wrote me like, I think you found out yourself. You found your way out yourself. And I said, yes, I think so, but let's see. And from there on, I could move step by step out of that hole. And I think 5 or 6 months later, we met in a training camp and we talked about it. And he was also quite interested in how I managed this. But it was really taking time for yourself, reflecting your situation, bringing it into relation to your whole life, and the trust from the people around you. So this trust and also I forgot to mention this. Some of the coach colleagues, I don't know why, but somehow they also felt like, oh, probably Dan needs some nice words, and I got some nice messages from coaches. From the triathlon world especially. So some really like motivating words, and even without asking, was even just, hey, sorry for the injury from Lucy, and things will get better, and we know how this feels. So some kind of good words from the people that I knew, that I also respect. And there I saw, hey, so probably I can get out of this, and it's not such a big problem. It's my problem, but it's not a really big problem, so I can get out of it.
No, but I think you're touching on the fact that we can all support each other, even just a few words and a quick note. You never know the impact it could have on the person at that moment, right? I mean, it's one thing to send you a note because your athletes are all winning and everything's charging. It's another to get a note and go, hey, thinking of you, mate, been there myself. It's like it does impact you. But thanks for sharing that. I think it's always nice when people are prepared to share their low times and not just the high times. But I do want to transition, shift gear, if you will, and talk about, firstly, Annie Haug. 18 years you've been working together. She's now 40. She's going to finish this year, I believe, as world number 1 again, after finishing world number 1 on the PTO rankings last year. Second at the Ironman World Championships, right behind your other athlete, Lucy Charles-Barclay. But Annie Haug, I mean, you've been together so many years. The consistency, especially these last 5 to 7 years, it's just been off the chart. What's it about Annie and your relationship that you're able to keep her on track, and the kind of work that you're doing to have her running 248 marathons in Kona? And I mean, tell me about your relationship with Annie and the work that you're doing with her.
Yeah, so like I said, it's already a long time. We know each other really, really well. What also brings with that, it's not that we have so much contact. It's not that we have daily contact or on the phone or whatever. So basically when she uploads the data or when she sends me some messages, I know how she feels. I know what is going on, and the same for her. So she also knows how I am doing, and so we know each other really, really well. That is for sure one part. The second part is, and that is the case for all my triathletes, there are always people around. So for Annie, we have a good physiotherapist, athletic coach that is working with her in Germany. We have the same when she is in Lanzarote, where she has also a really good support there. So Gunther in La Santa and Tobias Heimersdorfer in Germany. So these two people are extremely helpful for me because they immediately give me feedback if they see things are going wrong, if there seems to be an overload, or if there's something in the movement pattern from any. But on the other side, and this is also really fantastic working together, it's never like that they say, hey, we should do less or it's too much or whatever, but more they see their job in making Annie ready to support the load what is necessary. So it's a different approach. It's not the approach like we have to tell somebody they have to do less or they are doing wrong. No, it's more the approach, okay, that's the load what has to be done. We prepare the athlete that she's basically bulletproof to do it. And so we have a really good team here. Then we have a swim coach that we are working with. We have nutritionists that we are working with. So there's a small team around Annie. What really helps to keep also that consistency or to dig deeper into topics like, for example, nutrition, when we find that there is a specific problem or when we find that there is something to improve. And that's also something what I always want to point out and what is really important, because I'm working with athletes who compete against each other in the race. So if an athlete gets knowledge because he or she is working with an expert from her team, I always keep that knowledge in that team. For example, if Annie comes up and say, I have a new idea, I have my nutritionist wants to test this and to test that. That is knowledge for team Annie Haug, and not knowledge for another team. The same if Lucy is coming up with an idea, I keep that knowledge in that. So I try that everybody keeps his or her advantage that he brings out himself. My person always bring in 100% to all my athletes what I have. But the teams around these athletes, they are different. So we never work with the same setup. We always have different setups. And that also helps, this trust in the team that also helps me to keep the control of the workload from Annie. And I think this is the main point when we talk about consistency. So to be not too often sick, to stay injury free. And then last but not least, if you met Annie, she is basically the professional athlete herself. So she is doing this, I would say, 365 days a year. She lives that life. She likes to be an athlete. And that is for sure also the reason why still with her in her age, she can compete at the highest level. And even Kona were not her best performance ever. So that is quite impressive for me. So basically, I mentioned it as a last point, but this is the main point, that she loves what she is doing. She loves every day of being an athlete, and she always tries to reach new boundaries. And she pushes for it, not myself, but really herself pushes for to get better. And she still believes that she can always get better.
And so when you guys are communicating and say the direction of next year's goals or the following, how many years out you want to plan your goals, and is it led by the athlete? Like, is it led by Annie at this point, or is it led by you and you're throwing suggestions out? Or are you kind of listening to the direction they want to go and what they want to achieve? And are they coming to you, hey, I think I need more VO2 work, or I need more aerobic conditioning, or my strength felt lacking? Or how do you break down the specific trainings for for Annie in particular?
So in general, the athletes are setting the goals. So I don't want to give goals or to give dreams to my athletes. So the athletes needs to have the dreams in their head, and they tell me what they want to achieve. It's not me who tell them what they should achieve.
Fair enough.
But the other way around. And if Annie tells me, I want to, like this year, I want to have a great competition in Ross, and then the Ironman World Championships, and probably some PTO races, this and this one. my job is then to say, okay, is this realistic? So can we combine all these different goals, in my opinion? And then I give her feedback, and then we make the race schedule for the year. And it could be that there's a discussion about one competition where probably I say, oh, it's probably too much. And she says, I think I can do it. And then we find an agreement here. Important in the agreement is just that if you take the decision, you always take it together. So it's not like if things are going wrong, then that I would blame Annie to say, yeah, but I told you that this is not good, or the other way around. So when we take the decision, it's a team decision. And so there she brings, or all my athletes brings a lot of input. But then about the build-up, that's basically, I would say, my main job. So to look, okay, how can we make you ready for these goals? And there we have big differences with athletes. So with Annie, it's really clear. I give her the sessions, and she basically is doing the sessions as I prescribe them. So that's really like Jan also was doing it. So there is not like, I need this, I want that, or I think this. Sometimes, but I would say 2 times in a year, this comes up. But basically, she said she wants to trust, and she doesn't want to spend energy on that. The training is so exhausting. She's focusing on that, and she's focusing on that. What she's doing is working, and as long as it's working, she's also happy with it. So she has not so many, like you said before, like, okay, I think I need a little bit more this or that. Like I said, two times a year she comes up, probably after a competition or probably after a training session, like. Or after a tapering week, or no, after a recovery week, when she said, "Oh, I feel some rust on my muscles. I think I need a fast session again to get back on track." Something like that. Yes, but that's it. Basically.
It's pretty rare though. What when you specific to Annie, looking at her career and your journey together, is there 1 or 2 particular moments that make you feel particularly proud of, that really stand out?
I would say with Annie, it's really the whole way that she did. So coming from being nearly non-swimmer, starting with, I think it was the age of 20 or 21, and then going into triathlon, and always, or a lot of times, being in the position to chase. So also on the short distance, the swim was not always the greatest. So she, from the beginning of her career on, she always chased the pack. And every race, she always went all in, no matter how far in the back she was, and she never gave up. And this is still there until now. And that is for me really, really impressive, because you can imagine how much mental energy this costs if you at the back of the pack, and then you start your run and you try to get there, or you're on the bike in a small group in the back of the pack and try to catch up in front. For sure, there were also other competitions. She had really great competition on short distance. She was silver medalist and so on. So she has also there good palmarès. But what fascinated me the most is really this, how long she was able to keep on now, over 20 years. And it was not like that so she was really working hard for that. And that impresses me. For sure, the great Olympic race, what she had 2012, I think that was really nice to see. Then for sure also 2019 when she got that World Championship title. Also a special moment, that was 2013 when we won with the national team the relay, the World Championship relay was Jan Frodeno, Annie Haug, Anja Knappe and Franz Löschke. So also that was really a nice moment, because we were doing this all together. So but like I say, I would not pick just out one moment. I just would mention the whole way she did.
Great answer. I love it, mate. I love it. Well, let's move on to Lucy Charles-Barclay. Now, this is, what is it now, 3 years? You started 2020, 2021?
Third season,
Yeah, and boy, is she giving you a roller coaster, huh? Yes, we're on top of the world, literally winning Ironman 70.3 World Championships. And that was only, 6 months after starting to work with you, 4 to 6 months. And then to broken hip, to winning ITU World Long Course, to broken foot, to winning Kona. I mean, It's been a hell of a ride. Working with Lucy and her husband, Reese, and like you said, each of your athletes have their own team around them, and you work with the team as a whole. But her approach to training, is it much the same as Arnie? I mean, you're dealing with two different athletes, 10 years apart in age, but also one leads from the front and the other one chases. It's and they're chasing each other or they're running from each other. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic that you've got basically number one and number two at least Kona this year. How are you able to manage this with Lucy? I know they came to you. Has there ever been a question between Annie and Lucy? Do they get along? Is it all okay? How does that operate?
So the contact with Lucy, basically I made the first contact because I read about this story that she wants to go from long distance to make the qualification for the Olympics. And that was something for me quite new. How does somebody wants to do this? And I contacted Reese because I knew that Reese was doing the training. And then Reese said, okay, let's have a chat. And then we had a chat, and I'm not lying, I was really surprised that basically at the end of the chat, they asked me, but probably you want to join our team. And I said, oh, okay. I have to think about it, not because I was not interested in, but because I knew I had Annie on the other side. And also to think, okay, hey, they are already quite successful because Lucy had already several second places in Kona. And why should I now enter that team? And so that was like, I said to them, okay, it's a really cool project. Let me think about it. I will come back to you. And then I talked to Annie. And for Annie, it was like, basically, she tell me, if you want to do this, please do it. I don't want to forbid you this or whatever, because I know that I can trust you. And I know that no matter who you are coaching, you'll still give 100% to me.
Wow.
And even I heard in an interview that Annie says even there's some motivation because she knows that she has to work really, really hard because now also the other athletes have her coach. So she knows, okay, I have to work even harder to be better. And then I went back to Lucy and Reese and said, okay, let's go for this. And I can also remember in my head and say, okay, let's do the first. So as a coach, the worst thing what can happen if you have an injury at the beginning already when we are working together. So that's why I said, okay, hopefully everything is going well. And then we had a really good start and winning the first world title on the 70.3 distance. Which she won.
She was the fastest swimmer, biker and runner, by the way, in that performance in St. George.
Yeah, it was
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Also, she did a race. Where was it? An ITU race in Leeds, I think.
That's right.
Got fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
What was also quite a really extraordinary performance. And there I really got clear what potential Lucy has. And then she got this world title, and everything was nice and good and all on the good way. And then some months later, basically we had that really serious hip injury. And there we are at the moment where what I told you already before, because for me, that was the worst case scenario, working 1 year together and now having a really serious hip injury, not just a small injury, but a really serious one. And my first thought was like, okay, that was it, because we start to work now together 1 year. And for sure, and as a coach, so I don't want to go in detail here why it came, because there are a lot of speculations. I think we don't even know today what was the real reason. There were a lot of reasons, but no matter what the reason was, as a coach, you are always responsible. And that's why I thought, okay, that was it. And basically what happens then was that I really felt the trust from Reese and from Lucy especially to say, okay, no, we won that world title. We are now in that bad situation, but for sure we continue, and for sure we're going on, and we will get out of this. And that gave me also a lot of energy to continue to work with them together. And it's completely different. It's a completely different setup. So Lucy and Annie are two completely different athletes from the personality, from how they are how they are working, I would see that when they are all on full training, they are similar because they are all really, really focused. And but beside this, we have with Annie somebody who is, her world is really triathlon, being an athlete, and that's really her passion. Lucy has these two sides: one really passionate athlete, and on the other side, for sure, also I would say taking part of life as much as possible. Not as much as possible, but
I get it.
Also enjoying a little bit the other things, And I don't want to put a judgment on this. I just say they are different.
They're different people.
They are different people. Yeah. And also the setup with Reese, what is a complete different situation, and that was from the beginning on really important for me to tell them, look, Lucy, look, Reese, what you are doing here until that point, or what you did until that point, is really incredible. As a couple, to arrive at that point, I was some days with them on Lanzarote. I saw how good they are dealing with each other. It was really nice to see. And I just tell them, look, I want just to, my role here is to be probably a missing part of that puzzle, but not to now say, okay, I'm the man. I tell you, we all know go left or right. No, we are doing this together. And I think there we found also a good role. So basically, I set up the plan, the way how we get to our goals. Reese is there on the daily basis, gives me feedback. Sometimes they also change the session because it fits better in the daily schedule. For example, this Annie would never do. Annie would never change the session. Never.
Yeah.
That would be like, so she would never do it. And if she would do it, she would probably, I don't know, call me the other day and say, please look about the, and here with having Reese in the background who also have the knowledge, they know, okay, how to change it. At the beginning, we had to be a little bit careful because sometimes changes are not always good. So you have to see that you adjust it in the right way. But this is working really, really good. And we have there, like I said, a good relation and also trust each other. And also there with a physiotherapist in the back with Michael, where I get good feedback. So you see they have a good team behind them, also with the sponsor, with the bike manufacturer. So it's always nice to see the setup of these different athletes. That is also a big privilege that I have to get insights into different setups. What is really a big privilege what I have as a coach from these high performance athletes.
Yeah, and look, I found working with Lucy and Reese and even Lucy's sister Holly and the whole professional team that they have.
Exactly.
I've really enjoyed, whether it's be through the podcast or any question. They've been a really incredible team to work with. How was it leading up to Kona this year? Specifically with Lucy, because 4 second places. I felt like the world was watching, and I felt like the world was blowing at her back in that marathon to some degree. And nothing against Annie, but I think Annie's had got to win one, and I think everybody was kind of hoping that Lucy would at least get one here. But what was that like? Her final training? Did you kind of have a sense that we were going to see a performance like we did from both Lucy and Annie leading into that race?
So for Annie, it's easy to say because I was quite confident because she was really consistent in training.
Yeah,
nearly never sick, so she did a lot of a really good block. And from the experience, from the nearly 20 years now, okay, if she's able to do that training, and if nothing bad happens on race day, she will be ready for a really, really good performance. It always depends a little bit on the swim. So there we had to work a little bit on the psychology part that she also has a good swim. But
what do you mean on the psychology part? You just had to have a focus and visualize a strong swim?
The swims in that season have not been the best. Let me say like this. Also, sometimes in the pool she didn't feel so well. We also made a small change there with the coach, but this is not the main impact. This is probably now for the future. What we did is I wrote her a plan how she should feel, what she should do in the swim. So basically, like on the first, on the first 8 minutes, it will get hard. then look at stay at these feeds, then this and this will happen, then keep your spot, defending your spot, and then and so on. It was a 10-point list, and the last point was okay at the last part of the just before the exit, it will get fast again. Take care about this. So basically, she has to think about these 10 points, and the only thing, and we have never tried this before, so it was more like I heard her feedback, and I have the need to give her something in her hand. So 2 days before, she was like, "Oh, how should I do this?" And in the ocean swim, they already gave me so much minutes. I have no chance. And then I was in the situation, I have to do now something. For sure, we cannot change her swim. For sure, we cannot not make her faster or whatever in 1 or 2 days. But probably we can change
be intentional.
The approach, the intention, how the approach, how she goes in the race. And then I did it, and I was quite happy when after the race she told me, "Hey, I just followed your points and it worked." So I said, "Okay, good, thank you."
Phew, that worked. Yeah. But what about Lucy then? Lucy then and her final preps leading in.
Yeah, that was a really, really interesting one because we discussed about it. How should we approach Kona? And we know it's hot in Kona, and traditional approach is going long time before the race to Kona, or being, I don't know, in Lanzarote where you have the climatic conditions. But there were two things. One thing was that she was a lot of time already away from home. And I think also from the visa-wise, it was not so easy to stay a long time away, just in the US. And then she told me, "I want to be at home. I want to try this." And I said, "Okay, that's a challenge." But like I said before, the athletes tell me their goals and what motivates them and also what they need. And I try to use this environment and to make it happen. And then we said, okay, then for sure it will be a lot of indoor training because we need heat adaptation, we need specific sessions, we need a big training block because we also need that we were not behind, but we were still on the path, so still on the growing side of performance. And then she did really a good 6-week training blocks with heat adaptation, with also heat training. What are two different things? So one is to get adapted to heat, and the other is also to have some hematological adaptations to the heat training. And there it was also really important to have, again, Reese who controlled the intensity with lactate measurements, with heart rate, and so on. And I was not there, but I heard from Reese, from her, and also when I listened to some of the podcasts she gave now, it was, I think, a really hard time for all people involved.
Yes, it's testing on everybody. And look, I think anybody that's lived with anybody getting ready for a massive performing somewhere, it's never easy. It really is an emotional journey, isn't it?
Exactly. There are a lot of emotion. But then we saw in the run that she's quite far already, that everything was according to plan. Also on the bike, and especially, and that was for me also an interesting moment when she went to Kona, and then after the first session, after the first day of adaptation, when she did the first, let me say, pre-race sessions where you go in race intensity, where I saw, okay, that's quite good. Heart rate in relation to power, to the feeling. So that was quite promising, and that was the first time where I think, okay, probably this time it's the day, or it will be the day to get it. And but I knew that she would be able to do a good performance, or a really, really good performance. If it is a winning performance, you never know, because you never know what the other people are doing. And that's why we said, okay, you are ready for a great day out there. And okay, on the other side, we can also, I just mentioned this, this is a little bit funny because I wrote some weeks before Kona, statistically wise, she will win Kona, because normally when I work 3 years together, in the third year, people are winning Kona.
I love that positive reinforcement. Oh, that's great.
So it was with Jan that case. It was with Annie when we moved to longer distances. In the third year, she won Kona, and now it was her turn.
Wow.
So statistics never lies, and but just to make it a little bit funnier.
Well, that's actually maybe it's not just funny, mate. You might be onto something. That's actually really cool. I mean, that's 3 for 3 when you think Jan Frodeno, Lucy, and Arnie. And then now, moving on to Jan Frodeno, we've talked about your 2 amazing women that you're working with now. But Jan Frodeno, you guys worked together for his entire long course career, from 2012 all the way through. He's now 42, recently retired. Arguably the greatest of all time. I steer away from that conversation with my own points of view, but he's done some incredible work. How has his retirement impacted you? Have you got a lot more time on your hands? Is life easier? I'm just kidding. What's it been like?
Now, first of all, I think it was really emotional, especially on that day, on the last race day, when you spent really a long time together in this relationship, and when you went through also there to a lot of highs and also some lows. And I also know that a lot of my, if you want to call it a coaching career, is also because of Jan, because of his successes. Because as a coach, you can do whatever you want. You need the athletes who bring these winning performances. And I think also with Jan, he has this personality. So it was, I give you one example. When I applied for the cycling team in 2016, we talked about it. Okay, I'm a triathlon coach, and the only triathlete that the team boss knew was Jan Frodeno. He didn't knew any other triathlete, and so just to show that this was also a big impact for my coaching career, and and for sure I will also miss to work with him, because it was always really professional, good to work with him. For sure, sometimes you have some discussions or whatever, but it was always with a lot of respect. I think I mentioned in the last podcast, the guy who call you on Christmas, who call you for your birthday, and these small things, who says thank you for a training plan and all that stuff. So he showed me, beside also Annie, what that being a high professional athlete does not mean that you have to be an asshole, but high professional athletes are also really nice, and with a person, and that respect is really important. Respect for your coach, respect for the athletes, respect for the people working with you. And there can be a lot of emotions, for sure. There are emotions, and you can throw stuff at people, as long as in the evening you come back and say, hey, okay, good. Sitting together, having the respect for each other, and now we continue to work. And that was something really, really nice with Jan. And the life after Jan is, I think a normal process. Several athletes contacting me if I.
I'm sure there's more than several. Jan's gone. Can I be in? You need another one. Yeah. And at the moment, it's not that I was looking for new athletes. So for me, it's always important. First of all, I have a lot to do like this, and if I accept a new project, there must be something special. Like I mentioned with Lucy, something special at that time with this Olympic distance, but also now it stays special because she's just a special athlete. So that's something really, really nice. So that's why if I accept a new project in the future, there must be something where I say, oh, that could be interesting. And that is also, again, not something, a judgment on other things, on other athletes. It's just, I need, with the few amount of time what I have, I need to get something where I'm full in. And it needs to be interesting to you. It needs to be different. It needs to stretch you. Here's an idea.
Yeah.
There's an old retired athlete who's almost turning 52 that hosts a podcast. Do you think you can transform him to a Kona Ironman champion in 3 years? Now
age
that
group.
no, not age group overall. Please,
Okay.
gee, challenge yourself a little bit. No, I'm just kidding, mate. But look, it was funny, just looking at going through and researching your work. One, did you know this one? So both your athletes that have won 70.3 world championships in the most, when I look at all races, I'm talking last 30 years, 40 years, and I love the sport. So I've looked at a lot of great performances, and I really do believe Lucy Charles-Barclay, when she won in St. George at 70.3, was one of the all-time greats. The other one I think was one of the all-time greats was when Jan Frodeno won in South Africa, and the 70.3 in front of Brownlee and Gomez. That was like amazing. What's interesting about both of those performances, which I put them up there in top 5 greatest all-time performances, those two, both of those athletes got injuries, hip injuries, post those performances. I'm just mentioning that. I'm giving you a hard time, buddy. But it is amazing, isn't it? It's like, Lucy Charles dominated the world, Jan Frodeno. That one was amazing when Jan, remember that? Was it his sacrum? He cracked his sacrum or something right after flying home from Joburg to Australia or somewhere. And
yeah, exactly. Immediately after the flight.
I don't mean to put out your down times, mate. I'm more celebrating the up, but that was fantastic. Those performances.
No, it's okay, Greg.
Yeah,
it's really okay, because I think it's also important for people to know that this. I will not say it has to be part of it, but it's part of it.
It is.
And because sometimes people say, they get all the glory and whatever. Yes, that's for sure. It's nice to have now these podcasts. It's nice to be a little bit in the spotlight, but also the coaches and the athletes, they have these down moments. So, and I think that's also motivation for everybody out there. So there are highs and lows. It's just a normal way of life.
Yeah.
And it's just now always to come back, to stand up, to keep moving forward. And I think that is really important. And that's why I think it's sometimes also good to hear about this, that not everything went according to plan.
No.
And
But I'm telling you what, it's gone pretty damn close. And before I move you on to final opinions and questions, I have one question. What is it about your training that just brings out such success in athletes? Is there a philosophy? Obviously you're a well-grounded person. You understand mental strategies. You have great mental fortitude that you must share with the athletes and their teams. That resonates in our conversations. You're a very good human being. But specifically about the kind of training that you give athletes. And I remember last time on the show, you said, no, there's no real magic sauce. It's just consistency. But I could be as consistent as I want and never have the performances that your athletes have got. Is there anything that stands out to you that you go, this is what our athletes are doing better? And you've got 30 seconds to answer it. I'm just kidding.
No, I would say, yeah, for sure. So in general, I have an approach how I build up a season, a general approach. But then I think the main thing is to look at the individual, not characters, the individual physiologies, and to see, okay, where are we at the moment, and where do we have to get there? And to understand how the body reacts. For example, if I do a VO2 max session, I don't know, 3 times, 10 times, 40, 20, how does the body react on that? How much of this load does it need to get an increasement? And to see, is this the right session for the athlete? Or do I have to give a different stimulus because probably there is not the response what I want to have? Or probably this athlete needs more recovery. So just try to understand. So one principle is consistency. I also believe that you need a certain amount of load. So I don't believe, probably this is also philosophy, I don't believe in a low amount of training. So I think you need a certain amount of training to be able to perform at the highest level. So that is consistent with all my athletes. So basically, I prepare them for that. Then we are doing that block of training, and then we need the adequate recovery from it to be ready on race day. But really, try to get a lot of information, once 50% from the data, and 50% from the feedback that the athletes and the team around is giving me, and then taking the right decisions. That's why I make a season plan, yes, but I decide basically then week by week how we continue, how will the sessions look like, and then change it depending on feedback. So I say there's no magic behind it, but it was already quite early when I start my studies. I make some kind of I had a small job in a performance diagnostic lab, and at that time already the coach who worked there, he told me, hey, it looks that you have a good feeling for what people are feeling. So a good feeling where they are, what they feel, and I think this is something what I have really good. So if somebody tells me about how he's feeling, how he felt or she felt the training, immediately in my head there comes a picture. Okay, what happened to the physiology? What is going on there? And it's like a puzzle that I build together. And then I say, okay, and then we need now this puzzle piece, and now we need this puzzle piece, and now we need this one. And this could look differently from year to year, depending always on where the body is. How are people coming out from the fit for fun period, how I always call it. They have the recovery period. So, but if you would look in my training plan, there's no magic. It's really 100% no magic. It's nothing I would say what other coaches are not doing. It's more really putting it at the right moment, in the right amount, and bringing it together there.
I think you just nailed it. I love how you said, it's 50-50, the data and the science. It's like the science and art coming together, right? It's like listening to that feedback combined with the actual numbers might be telling you one thing and the athlete's telling you something else, and it's understanding how to combine those together to come up with the right formula. And and I think you are doing that in such a superior way. I find it, I can only imagine your email box or direct messages on Instagram now with especially male athletes. Hey, Dan, please help. And it'd be probably not easy for you to turn a lot of them down, because I know you probably know a lot of them and think they're great people. But mate, I want to move on to just some quick opinions. We don't have to dive too deep in this because I want to be respectful of your time. But Kona and Nice, Ironman have had to split the two together. What would you like to see happen with the direction of the Ironman World Championships?
Yeah, if it would be my biggest wish to say, okay, get both races back to Kona, and that's it. So probably on 2 separate days. I know it's at the moment not possible from the island, but I think that would just be the best from the sport. I was not in Kona this year. I was in Nice. It was a nice competition, nice area. For sure a great spot to do triathlon. But just by watching the pictures from Kona, I immediately felt, okay, good, it's not the same. But probably because I'm a little bit still from the Kona area, probably I have this feeling. But that would be, at the moment, my wish, getting them back to Kona, having 2 races, and keep the number of athletes just at the normal number, so that it's also manageable for the island. Because I think, and I really believe in this, I think Kona is not for everybody. I think there is no need to make slots and slots and slots. Somebody who goes to Kona, no matter as a professional or as an age group athlete, must show a great performance, and then he can go there. And if not, it's not a shame. There are so many other triathlons that you can do, but you should not create just more slots to bring more people there. I think that's, in my opinion, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
but that's just my personal opinion.
No. That's what this is, an opinion piece, mate. It's and none of us all have to agree on everything either. My opinion seems to change from every single person I talk to on the show. I go from going, yeah, like that, no, like that. So I'm still up in the air. I just had Simon Lessing on the show, and he was like, yeah, World Championships should be moving around, and I said, well, could we go back to Kona every 4 years or something? He said, oh yeah, no, we should do that. So I think it's just an interesting topic of conversation for people that are passionate about the sport,
But I think there's already the question, because you said World Championship should move. Yeah, there is a World Championship. There's also an ITU World Championship long distance. But it's not winning the World Championship. No, in the mind of people, it's winning Kona.
Well done. I like it. Yeah,
that's a big difference. Also, in my opinion, in the media, I think you can win. I'm pretty sure if I don't know if Lucy now would have won Nice, I think it would not have been the same.
You're right.
How it got, how the feeling is from outside, because Kona it's hot. It's an island. There's not the athletes are alone. There are not so many spectators, so it's hard. It's far away from Europe. I know from US not so far away, but it's more like something. There's more magic.
I get it.
Than in Nice. That is how I feel it.
Yeah, and it has a 45-year history or whatever we're up to now, and there's so many great stories. And you're younger than I am, but I remember, that whole 86, 87, and then there was no 88 with Mark and Dave anyway, and then it was 89, the battle. And it was like, for me, and I wasn't even a Kona athlete. I wasn't an Ironman athlete. That was never I never really wanted to be Ironman. That was never my focus. It was always the short stuff, but it's still, for me, a lot of what the sport is about. I'm going to ask you a question, put you on the spot here. Mm-hmm. Greatest triathlete of all time, a male and a female. Have you got an opinion here, or would you rather defer?
To be honest, I don't like this kind of question because it's a little bit disrespectful for all the other athletes. So sure, I could now mention, for example, for Jan, for example, what he did. And he's for sure a really, really great athlete with what he achieved in triathlon and outside triathlon, for sure. But there have been so many good performances in the last, like I say, 40 years, 45 years. So I think it's not fair towards all the athletes to mention two now. I think that's why I don't want really to give you who's the greatest of all time.
I think I'm putting you on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot, mate. Yeah. Okay.
Always the greatest of his period, something like this probably. There we could find, if we take always 10 years or something like this, but not the greatest of all time, because it always differs from the surroundings and everything.
No, you're very respectful, and I do agree with you, and I like to throw it out there just to hear different opinions, and it's one of those that there's no right answer. There is no right answer. It's a bit of a fun. It's a dinner time conversation. Throw it out amongst a bunch of triathletes and see what happens. And it's a bit of fun, But I want to finish just up with the final 4 questions. First one, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I would say just do what you love to do, because there you will be good in, and have the courage to follow your dreams.
I love it. And you're doing that, mate. 3 people you'd want to have dinner with, non-family, living or dead.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Would be one.
I love it. Yeah. How good was his show on Netflix, by the way? Did you watch that? Have you watched Arnold on Netflix?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Then who else do we? Wow, good question.
It's all right. If you don't have them, don't stress. I send these out beforehand, but they're often people don't.
Yeah, the one that's not even. I know you sent it already, but it was like.
You know what? Mine are always changing anyway. I have 3 people every now and then, but Arnie was always on the top of my list. Is one of the people I'd love to just chat with. I've got to get him on the show.
Probably what I would like to have is what I found really interesting is Bill Clinton. So to talk to him, because I found the way how he did the politics was quite interesting. And I'm not in politics, but I think that politics are going not in the way where they should go. And I would like to understand a little bit more about that, and talking with somebody where I have quite a lot of respect. So that could be
interesting. Yeah.
To talk to. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Or a guy like Barack Obama, for example, also. Probably even with him, it would be interesting to get the thoughts from a president from the United States, and get the thoughts about decisions, about how these things is working, and why sometimes decisions are going in that way, and how much of their own ideas before they came into that position they could really deliver when they have been in the position. That is something what I always ask myself. When
it's
you get
so
into
true.
Politics,
Yeah.
Are you really able to execute your ideas, to bring your ideas on the table and to make them happen?
I know. I feel like politicians come with all these ambitions and excitement and passion, and then I feel like Washington kicks the shit out of them. They're like, oh, like, I didn't get to do anything I wanted to do. And look, I think that's to some degree the way that America is made up, that it is hard to pass laws and it's hard to change things. But I think there's a reason for that. But anyway, let's not dive too far into that. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Anyway, mate, you still working with Bora-Hansgrohe, amazing cycling team, athletes.
It's a good question. So for sure in sports, I still love what I'm doing. I also like my team, but the same like what I said about athletes. So if there is something what was coming up, something unexpected, something where I say, wow, that's the next Lorang project, then probably I will be also on that one. For sure, not just jumping from one to the next, for sure, always finishing business first. Yeah. But I'm there quite open. And I think there's still a lot to discover, still a lot to see, still a lot basically to discover. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably in 5 years we speak again. I can tell you where.
Hopefully it's not that long, mate.
I don't have the clear plan to say that's what I'm doing now the next 5 years.
I could see you, I'm going to throw ideas out. I could see you pivoting sports, taking on, one of the Bundesliga soccer teams or Man United, or even coming over and helping the New York Giants. And I don't know, like I don't feel like your performance leadership, let's call it that rather than coaching, because I think it's more there's a performance leadership that you have. I think that could be channeled and used in sports, but then also let's step another step further. Let's take the Arnold model. I think in business and a whole bunch of areas that you could potentially go. I think we should talk offline. I've got ideas for you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Do you also work as manager for coaches or?
Oh, mate, I've got some ideas. My network's growing. I've got some. Yes, I know. I'm friends with the New York Giants owners, and they definitely need some help right now. But I just think somebody with your mindset, with like we talked about earlier, the understanding the data and the science, but also understanding the individual and the feedback and the art of coaching and leadership, because it's leadership at the end of the day. Coaching is a form of leadership. It's a relationship. I think we could could pivot you in any direction. I think we think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and how he kept pivoting and moving, but using what he'd done and trying different avenues. I'm excited for you, mate. Mm-hmm. All right.
I thought already in some of this direction. So you were not so wrong, I think. So
yeah. I'm excited for you, mate. I feel like you've ticked every box there is in the world of triathlon, and you can keep doing that. But I'm also excited for your future as well. Hey, let's finish up with some real fast rapid fire questions, because I know I've kept you a long, long time. But you, like I said at the top of the show, you are the most downloaded person on my show. And so I do like to run over a little bit of time with you. But let's finish. Rapid fire questions. All right. Tea or coffee drinker?
Coffee.
Mountain training or beach?
Mountain.
Favorite cycling spring classic?
Paris-Roubaix.
Yeah. The best book that you would gift to somebody else? One book you'd gift to somebody else?
No, several, but I would, and really interesting is the Netflix story. It's interesting when it's about leadership, but also now the history of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he wrote. So there's a new book out, what is also nice to read, but also his history, because it's there's a lot in it, and he, like you said before, he had several directions that he went. The mindset he had, not an easy childhood, and to understand a little bit the process behind that. Not that I say this is the best way to do it, but there's a lot in it.
Oh, no. I don't think any of us are screaming saying Arnold is the ultimate role model for everything. Like I was having to tell my mum. She's like, what happened here? I'm like, okay, look, he's not perfect. There's nobody perfect, but he has a lot of great great learnings for all of us.
Exactly.
All right, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
One country you've never been to but want to visit?
To Mexico.
Oh, you've never been to Mexico? My goodness.
No.
All right.
Nope.
Lucy, Annie, you're racing an Ironman in Mexico next year. I'm just kidding. We kind of already did this one, but I have it here. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
I think I would work in the medical department, so as a doctor or something like that.
Yeah, you love the science. All right. One workout that you believe every triathlete should do?
VO2 max sessions on the bike. So like what I said before, I think 3 times, 10 times, 40-20s on the bike, always good for everybody. A good session. Normally, most people have fun to do it.
Yes, it's the most fun workout around. All right. Greatest movie of all time?
Rocky.
What?
Rocky.
Oh, Rocky 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Or basically, I would say all of them.
I love it.
But let's take the first one because it was the start. And
I love the whole story behind that too, how it was done on such a budget and how he...
exactly.
The whole thing about that is fantastic. All right. And last song that you listened before we started this interview. You remember in music you were listening to?
Yes. The last song was... I'm really bad in names. That's why I'm always...
Me too, mate. Me too.
But the last song that I listened was... it was Illuminate from Afrojack.
Ah, nice. I've just started getting into a couple of different bands, the Real Mackenzies and Miracle of Sound. Kind of, I don't know. Check those out. They're kind of not bad workout music. All right, mate. Well, this has been really fantastic, Dan. It really has been a pleasure to catch up with you again, buddy. And, what's next? You're giving yourself at all a little break over the festive season here? Christmas coming up, or is it just getting ready for the big year ahead?
Yeah, getting ready for the big year. We have the training camp with the team at the 6th of December.
Okay.
Not at the 6th, at the 11th of December. So from the 11th to the 21st. And like I said before, planning the season for the cyclists, but also for the triathletes. Yeah. So it's the planning months and also having some good conversations. Now speaking about last season, going into the next. Mm-hmm. So a lot of organization work. Made. But a lot of also some time at home now that what is good.
Oh, fantastic, buddy. Well, where do you do your camps, by the way? When you do your cycling camps, you guys go Lanzarote or?
No, we start. Normally, we start in Mallorca.
Oh, beautiful! Love Mallorca.
And then when we go to altitude, we go to Tenerife or Sierra Nevada, or to France when it's more later in the year.
Oh, right.
Tignes.
Gosh, so you're traveling a bit, mate. You're on the road a bit, huh? You're traveling. I mean, at least around Europe, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Dan. Well, mate, it really has been a pleasure. Just, you're always amazing the way you share so much knowledge and inspiration as always. So thanks again for coming on and just chatting with me, buddy. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much for asking the right questions, Greg. And, it was a pleasure to be on the podcast again.
All right. Thanks, mate.
All the best.
Thanks, buddy. And for everybody listening, you can find all the show notes, timestamps, and everything else at bennettendurance.com/media. All right, stay on the line, buddy. Cheers.